after 8 p.m. Eastern time. Well, yesterday was an awesome day. Yesterday, during the day, was an awesome day in Los Angeles for our great station that we are on each and every day in ESPN LA, 7:10 a.m., as the announcement was made that now the home, once again, for USC. USC football, basketball on the men's side, and basketball on the women's side. So everybody in LA was celebrating the return of USC to 710, which is a great partnership. Then the Celtics won a championship last night, and the Lakers fans took a little bit of a turn. We have one of them sitting in between Smalls and I, and that would be one Chris Canty. Because last night, amidst the celebration for the Boston Celtics, it's, the equal time. If you talk Yankees, you got to talk Red Sox. If you talk Celtics, you got to talk Lakers kind of thing. If you talk, Saban, you got to talk Georgia over the last few years, et cetera. Mm-hmm. Well, that means the Lakers are in second place now. And the Lakers are without a coach. They have 17 titles. Must be nice. And the Celtics have 18. How are we taking this all in as a Lakers fan today?
It's not great. We don't have a coach, and the draft is what? A couple weeks from now?
Not a couple weeks from now. It's a week from tomorrow.
Not great.
And you can re-sign your own players right now. Per Wendy with us yesterday. And per Woj this morning, Jeff Van Gundy, who was a senior consultant with the Celtics, is now Ty Lue's lead assistant. Now, Jeff Van Gundy is more accomplished than any of the candidates, by the way, for the Lakers job, and he's going to be Ty Lue's number 2 on his staff this year. Just throwing that out there with all the Lakers news.
Yeah, I mean, we got to nail down who the head coach is going to be. I'm anticipating that's going to be J.J. Redick. That has to happen. I mean, now that we're past the NBA Finals, his broadcasting responsibilities are done for ESPN when it comes to the NBA Finals coverage. So I would anticipate that Rob Pelinka and Jeannie Buss would make that decision and get this contract hammered out so we could have a head coach and JJ and Rob can have a meeting of the minds and forge a path forward in terms of the Lakers offseason checklist, because they've got some big-ticket items that they've got to be responsible for, and chief among them is re-signing LeBron James and then putting together a plan that can accentuate what AD and Bron bring to the table at this stage of their careers to try to get the Lakers back to the championship rounds.
So now that the confetti has fallen and J.J. Redick's responsibilities for broadcasting in the NBA Finals are over, if it isn't announced today, are you starting to get nervous that maybe it's not J.J. Redick and the Lakers are going to have to go elsewhere? Like, where's your panic?
There's a little bit of angst because we heard the grumblings, I think it was last week, that when Dan Hurley decided that he wasn't going to take the job, you heard the grumblings that, J.J. Redick didn't want to be seen as a second fiddle or a plan B or a second choice. So, I mean, as much as this is about J.J. Redick, selling himself to the Lakers in the interview process, I think there's a part of this where the Lakers have to sell J.J. Redick on why this is the best job opportunity for him. Because right now, J.J. Redick has got a pretty plush gig being on the number 1 broadcast team for the NBA on ESPN. So to get him to leave that situation, you would want to have some security even after the LeBron James, Anthony Davis era of Lakers basketball. And so we're anticipating that the runway for Bron will be 2 or 3 seasons. If this team doesn't live up to the expectations, giving J.J. Redick some assurances that he's going to be the guy that can have an opportunity to rebuild the program after Bron decides to step away from basketball.
I do wonder if we're going to see a flurry of moves starting today, because as I'm thinking about this, we haven't seen anything during the finals, right?
No.
I mean, the Cavs did not name their head coach, which we're assuming it's going to be James Borrego, assistant coach of the Pelicans, former head coach of the Hornets and the Magic. So I assume we're going to see these moves today. And if Borrego goes off the board and the Lakers are tied to literally no one else right now, you would have to think it's going to be J.J. Redick. And he witnesses on ABC last night with Doris Burke and Mike Breen the Celtics winning a championship and maybe getting the Lakers job today. If he says no, all hell breaks loose. Yeah, or if they're not interested in him.
But here's the interesting thing about what JJ is doing right now, and I know he's a great basketball mind, right? Like, he's a former player, but he thinks the game at the highest level. And to me, when you look at what JJ was doing over the last several weeks in the NBA playoffs, but specifically in these NBA finals, you got an up-close and personal look at the Boston Celtics. That is the bar to clear when it comes to competing for a championship. If you sign up to be the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers, it is championship expectations. It's literally championship or bust with LeBron James in the twilight of his career. Do you think that the Lakers roster is close to where the Boston Celtics are at?
No.
They're nowhere close.
No.
They're nowhere. I mean, the Lakers aren't close to the Denver Nuggets.
No.
They're not close. So I guess my whole point is, it feels like a losing proposition to take the job under the pretenses of competing for a title, knowing that the organization probably can't do enough with the roster in order to put LeBron James and AD back in position where they can win you a chip. And that's probably the part that is most disappointing, most deflating as a Lakers fan. That's why I was so upset that the Dan Hurley pitch didn't come through for Rob Pelinka and Jeannie Buss.
See, what gets me frustrated about all of this is, like, we can't assume someone knows how to interact, coach, motivate grown adults. So even if you know a sport inside and out, that doesn't mean you know how to operate a business, a locker room, a staff, whatever it may be. There's so much more that's going to go into this. And I just think that they're like, what I don't know, and maybe you guys do, I have not seen who's on his staff. Maybe the single greatest assistant coaching hire I have ever seen in my life was when Sean McVay, at like 34 years old, shows up to the Rams, and his first move is, you, old guy that's been here forever in the NFL, Wade Phillips, I don't know what the hell I'm doing as a head coach. Come with me.
Yeah.
And what happens? Go to a Super Bowl, win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I mean, two different ones, right? Not always with Wade, but like he got acclimated.
I understand what you mean. Like,
Ty Lue just got Jeff Van Gundy. He doesn't need Jeff Van Gundy. He's freaking Ty Lue. But he still's like, I need someone older, more wise than me to join me.
It's managing people.
That's
and
right.
Personalities, and that's not easy to do. But I'm already giving that to JJ Redick.
I hope you're right.
I'm assigning that to him. I'm saying even if he can be a good manager of people and a manager of egos, even if he can be great in a head coaching role in terms of schemes, in terms of using challenges and times out, substitution patterns, even if he's great at all of those things, this Lakers roster ain't good enough to win a championship. Like, think about it. Even if he's great at all of those things, which are relative unknowns because we haven't seen him as a coach in the NBA, even if he's great at all of those things, I still don't think this Lakers team is good enough to win a chip. I don't. I mean, you're relying on basically schemes from J.J. Redick and I guess better game management skills than what we saw from Darvin Ham. But you're also relying on the growth and development of guys like Max Christie, of Austin Reeves, of Rui Hachimura. I mean, I just don't see that putting the Lakers in a position where they can be on par with the best teams in the Western Conference, let alone the Boston Celtics.
You know, as we're crediting the Celtics today, as we should, winning their 18th championship, let me give one other piece of credit, because we've talked about the uniqueness of the run and all the different layers to this. After last season, Joe Mazzulla and the Celtics failed against the Miami Heat in the conference finals, a play-in team that arguably they should have beaten. We all looked at that coaching staff and said, who's there to help them? Brad Stevens and Joe Mazzulla, to their credit, go out and get Jeff Van Gundy as a senior advisor. Charles Lee, who's now the head coach of the Hornets, is on that staff, who won a championship in Milwaukee as assistant coach, and Sam Cassell. He's been around the league forever. Like, part of this is learning where you went wrong. And the Celtics there's so many examples of this is not good enough, let's change this with the Celtics, except for those two guys, and Tatum and Brown. And they have succeeded to no end, obviously, winning a championship last night. Coming up, Pat Costello.